I am so excited to look at these toes. So it's really interesting to look at children's toes because what you're looking at are potential strengths. It's all about potentiality and generational stuff because they just haven't lived enough years in this physical body to be showing a lot of the wear and tear that this can bring. So when we talk about these toes for this little one, uh, these are inherent gifts and talents. These are potentialities, and this is generational stuff that, like just imagine if you, if as an adult, I think, gosh, if I would have been a child and my parents would have known this information about me and known how to help release some of the stuff that just generationally comes through. I really feel like parents right now on the planet who are waking up, like part of our opportunity is to clear out some of this generational garbage that's been going on for hundreds of years that we bring in, that we can clear that for our children so that our children have a cleaner slate. And I say cleaner because we all have, whatever happened before we came to this lifetime experience going on. And then we have, so we have our own stuff, but if we are not dealing with stuff that we picked up generationally from our parents that they didn't clear, it's a cleaner slate. So beautiful. So the first thing that I notice when I look at these toes is the optimism of this beautiful child. So the little toes, these big toes on these little feet are pointing upward. You see the uplift of that nail. That is a sure sign of optimism. So this person is very optimistic. Love the straightness of these toes. So spirit path, life path right now. And you would hope this, right, for any child, that right now their spirit path and their life path is on track. Now, a caution here would be a lack of groundedness. Now, children sometimes aren't that grounded. They're present, but not necessarily grounded. And so just having a small grounding practice with your child where they're connecting with the earth can be very beneficial. It can also start to get that energy going because energy, it's like a river. These energetic patterns are like a river where a river goes down this path, and when you decide to change the course of that river, it can be done. And the longer it's gone down that path, it takes a little bit more work to change that pattern. So a grounding practice for this child right now would be really, really beneficial. And just letting the kid dream and be optimistic. And maybe it's completely unrealistic, but as parents, sometimes we try to protect our kids and tell them, oh, well, that's impossible. That can't happen. Whatever. Let them dream. They're going to figure out the realities on their own. And your reality doesn't have to be their reality. And so just this beautiful optimism, highly intuitive, and very independent. All right. This child may give you a little bit of a run for your money because they want to be independent. They want to be sovereign, and they know. Very crystal child is really coming to me for this child, a crystal child that's just so intuitively in tune. And another thing that often happens in our culture, and even as parents, as we are trying to just protect our kids, is we gaslight our kids. They think something, maybe they have an imaginary friend, maybe they see things that we just don't see in our realm, and then kids get gaslighted. And it's not because, it's not an intentional trying to be mean or anything. It's just, sometimes what adults do. And we see this a lot, in just the systems and institutions that we have. So honing the gift of intuition Now, one of the things that I'm finding kind of interesting with these other toes is they do tend to point down just a tiny bit. And so optimistic, but also just a little bit weighed down. And so, when you're reading to your child or whatever, just gently massaging these toes. And so releasing, because there is some blocked energy in there already, which, happens because we've had experiences before we came to this life, or uh, the energetic and physical DNA that comes to us from this life. And so just gently massaging these toes. I think about, playing little piggy with kids' toes. That's so good for their toes because it just helps keep those energetic access points, if you will, alive and going. And so doing that, communication and expression is very important. This has to do with this big toe. So communication and expression. This child is going to want to express. When we look at the chart, very much what we call a daylight chart, meant to be out in the world, out doing stuff. The way that the path of their soul evolution is through being out with people. So encouraging their relationships and trusting themselves in these relationships, and teaching them boundaries, and modeling boundaries for them. Because when people are way out there in the world, sometimes there's people that will come in that may not be for their highest and best good. But it is important for this child to be able to shine out there. And action, lots of action. So again, this has to do with being this chart that's way out there. When we look at what's below the horizon line here, we have Pluto, the transformer, we have Jupiter, the joy bringer and the expander, and Saturn, that's kind of the father figure of the zodiac, who requires structure. Saturn and Pluto, some astrologers read them as being malefic, and in some instances they are, but really Pluto wants us to dig deep into our souls so that we can alchemize, distill, eliminate. Jupiter makes everything bigger, and look, they're like right on top of each other. So a lot of transformation is in this child's potential, transformation on many, many, many levels. And then very close to it, even though it's in a different house, is Saturn, who is strict because he wants us to be successful. Okay. And then when we look at these things that are below the horizon there, so below here, this is internal. So this is the internal work, finding structures, finding unique ways, and these are all retrograde as well. But, so this rethinking of what are the structures and rules and hierarchies. So in the sign of Aquarius, Saturn is at home in Aquarius, and so revolutionary. There's a lot of revolutionary energy about this entire chart, especially being out there. But then when we have Jupiter sitting right here with Saturn, who wants us to be successful and is in the revolutionary sign of Aquarius, and in the 6th house, which is about wholeness, right? So creating wholeness on the collective level. Yeah, I'm feeling that. And I drew a card. This is one of this child's spirit animals, is the hummingbird. And the hummingbird represents miracles. Says you are the joy bringer. I love that, especially with Jupiter right there. Jupiter is the joy bringer. You bless the world, right out here in the world, with positivity. I love that, with the optimistic toes and love. Energy soars on your shining wings. Spread the miracle of happiness. So I drew this card from the Spirit of the Animals Oracle, and I will share this in the description of this video. But the hummingbird is about love, joy, aesthetics, beauty, ideals. Hummingbirds can be delicate, agile, miracles, timelessness, and positivity. If hummingbird is your totem, you are a person of joy, and you bring a smile to people you meet. Hummingbird takes away sorrow, worry, and sadness. Hummingbird medicine teaches us to let stress and troubles go. When hummingbird appears, it is a reminder to spend time in the garden, drink from the sweet nectar of life, and flit from flower to flower. That goes along so well up here with being just an out in the world individual, and flit from flower to flower, helping to propagate all that is beautiful. Hummingbird people are the masters of healing with herbs, flowers, colorful stones, aromatherapy, and love. If you have hummingbird totem, you naturally radiate the colors of the rainbow. Your bright, cheerful presence and sweet laughter is a blessing to all you meet. You are a person who creates happy life magic. Hummingbird energy is associated with accomplishing that which seems impossible. You can even fly downward and upward and upside down. If hummingbird is in your life, you have the ability to see the good in others and beauty wherever you go. Acceptance and love are the healing powers you offer by just being yourself. You have a very high energy, which naturally uplifts others, but even hummingbirds need a rest. Take time with the flowers for renewal, and never let others take away your joy, sparkle, or positivity. Happiness is who you are. Okay? And then the shadow side can be feeling caged, losing joy, worrying or letting others dull your radiance, or flying away from things that dim your happiness. So not flying away from them would be the shadow side of that. So when we look at this chart with the sun in beautiful Gemini and the North Node, right there very close to each other, all here in the sign of Gemini. And Gemini is very curious. So lots of curiosity here, which we see with the action toes, because look, those action toes are very long. They're as long as those communication toes almost. So this can indicate curiosity, this intuition, right? This high intellect as well as intuition. So teaching this child to trust intuition and not overthink things. That is one thing that I oftentimes see with Gemini sons is even though they're highly intuitive, they constantly overthink things. And so realizing that you might be 2 steps ahead of everybody else in the room because you are so curious and so intelligent. And so this North Node, the North Node is where we're stretching into. It is the stretchy zone. And so this not overthinking is part of your life purpose that you're here to stretch into. All right, what else with this? You've also got your Venus in Gemini and your Mercury in the 11th house. So we'll talk about this going on here in your 11th house. So 11th house, clearly, because you've got so much going on here, really is an important house for you. The 11th house is ruled by Aquarius, which we talked about down here. So the 11th house is this idea of community, this idea of out there, the collective, and creating revolution within that collective. That is part of what you're here to do. And the way that you communicate, especially with your sun in Gemini, and then your Mercury here is here in Cancer and in the 11th house. So what this is going to mean is sometimes you're going to need to be aware of what you are saying, because it might, communication is so important to you with these long second toes. Make sure you're not communicating in a way that can be, what's the word? Condescending. We don't ever want to communicate in a way that's condescending, or in a way that because communication is so important to you, it's just important that you are aware of how you communicate, and communicate your truth, and also realize that part of your responsibility as a communicator is to communicate in a way that others understand you. So there's a word of caution. And with your part of fortune here also in Cancer, conjunct your Mercury in Cancer, the way that you communicate is the way that you will attract fortune. It is your luck. The way that you communicate is your luck. And that is out there in the collective. Okay. Sun in Gemini, again, highly curious, deep thinker, and also has a lot of this beautiful, energetic, like it talked about with the hummingbird, and even, looking at your toes with this long action toe and this uplift of your first toes, this optimism, this positivity, lots of energy, lots and lots of energy. Then with your your Venus also here in Gemini, that is retrograde. So the way that you connect with and receive love might be just a little different, and that's okay. Honor that in yourself, and realize that the way that you connect, you will have many friends, and having a large community is important to you. And this is in your 10th house, your house of fame and reputation. And so your connections with people are what are going to support you in your life purpose. Your moon are your emotional needs. These are your non-negotiable needs, is in the 10th house and in the sign of Taurus. So again, 10th house being the sign of fame and reputation. So some of your non-negotiable needs are to be seen and to be active in your community. Okay, these are some non-negotiable needs for you. Achievement and being recognized. These are important. Now, with your Taurus moon, it is also very important that you take time to rest, that you take time to enjoy some of the comforts in life and identify what those are to you. Is it really soft fabric, like a soft blanket? Is it a favorite food? Is it feeling warm and cozy somewhere? These are non-negotiable needs. Snuggle time is something that I'm thinking of. Might be very, very important to this child. Just feeling that safe, that safety of being snuggled up in a warm blanket next to a safe person. That could be a very, very important thing. Your midheaven is in Taurus. Taurus is about values. So identifying what are your values: positivity, optimism, communication and expression, and curiosity. Those are some values that I see in your toes. So explore those and identify what are your values. When we make decisions, if it doesn't go through our values first and we just jump to priority, things get clogged. We can talk more about this when we have our call. And I can show you the decision-making funnel that goes through values first, then priorities, and then distills out, distillation, Pluto, into our decisions. So let's make sure that we talk about that on our call. So these are some non-negotiable needs. And then having your midheaven here in Taurus, really identifying those values and helping other people identify their values, which you absolutely can do because you have all of this intuition. You can read people. Really, really trust that. Let's talk about your rising sign, which is in Leo, which is so appropriate. With your sign in Leo, Leo loves to be seen. Leo is the lion. Leo is the sun. So being seen, being heard, being able to express is part of who you are, and allowing other people to do the same. Absolutely, in Leo, a world full of suns and stars is beautiful. Shadow side is sometimes Leo feels like it needs to shine brighter. So attention seeking is just a warning sign for a rising Leo. But really embrace that, yeah, you're here to be seen. You are here to just be out there as an example of what it can look like and feel like and be the experience of in being seen, loved, and accepted for who you are, and then offering that empowerment to others. Let's go back to your toes for now. So this being able to take action, important. Your relationships, make sure, so my guess is going to be that quality time and or acts of service are the top love languages of this person. And so being able to ask for love to be shown in that way and showing love in that way and having that love be received. You know, sometimes children can do the funniest things to show their love, and just accepting that love is going to be really important. These long trust and prosperity toes. This is relatively typical of children. And I think it's beautiful because children really are trusting. Children really do think that they deserve and have the ability to receive beautiful things in life. And then oftentimes we get jaded and deluded because that doesn't end up being our experience, whether that's real or whether that's perceived. And so these beautiful long toes. So snuggle time in a warm, soft blanket and just a little toe massage would be very, very good for this child. So as I finish this reading up, independence and sovereignty for this child is very important. Being able to be seen and loved and accepted in their small community now, and as they move out, resilience, building that gift of resilience in your child, encouraging this child to trust their intuition. If they're seeing things, don't poo-poo it. Ask questions about it. If they're feeling things, deeper questioning about it would really empower this child. Directed action, allowing the child to express and act within the container of safety. It's important, obviously, that a child learn to be safe, but having that container and then allowing them to express within that container. Letting the child wear what the child wants to wear. Is it really that big of a deal if they're wearing polka dot pants and a striped shirt? Obviously, that's a decision that you get to make as the child's parent, and realizing that this child may put together some wacky things and think that they're beautiful. And who's to say that they're not? Self-expression is the number one message I'm getting from this child. Allowing this child to bring joy. Leo is the sign of joy and creativity and fun. Allow this child to show love to themselves and to others by creating and feeling joyful. I'm looking forward to chatting more with you about these cute toes and the abs. I feel the potential for the healing and joy bringing of this child to the family and to the world. And I look forward to talking more with you about it. Thank you.